Hey guys and welcome to my channel. Today I bring you, what if Zikor was good? A new villain comes to Earth, but is he truly a villain? New scions arrive on Earth in search of training. When new enemies rise, can he find the strength needed to defeat a seemingly invincible monster? Zikor so see. Please review. To be rewritten hiatus. The story is called Dragon Ball AF New Pupils Xicor Saga, created by FanFicion author Xicor422. The link of both the story and the author will be in the description down below. If you guys want more what if videos such as these, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. It has been 25 years since the end of Dragon Ball GT, and Goku, the great scion hero from Earth, is traveling the universe training on each of the new planets he finds. Goku marched down the streets of an unfamiliar planet, rubbing his stomach after a delicious meal from one of the stalls. The temperature was burning, but he didn't mind too much. Eating all that food and walking through the market streets were the most physical actions he did today. He came to the desert planet in hopes of some more training, but soon found that the people were by far weaker than any enemy he had to face in the past, and none wished to fight him. He was even more disappointed to find that the gravity wasn't at all as strong as he expected it to be. The three suns beat down on him from up above in the cloudless sky. Despite the three suns, Goku could tell it was around midday. Goku walked on with his hand behind his head, almost as carefree as was over 100 years ago, with Gohan only a young boy, on Earth. Despite the many years that had passed since his departure, he hadn't aged past looking in his maybe mid to late 30s. He looked down as he felt someone bump into him. It was one of the reptilian natives. They weren't much taller than 4 feet and had scaly skin that could be completely a shade of yellow, green, or red. They had 3 claws-like fingers and toes and many sharp little teeth. The small being he had bumped into had dark green scales like that of healthy-looking grass back on his home planet. It was covered in red freckly spots that started at its hairless head and ended at the end of its stubby green tail. "Sorry about that," Goku apologized. The little creature narrowed its orange eyes at him, but soon let it go and continued its conversation with its similar companion, walking down the street with many other natives like it. Goku didn't usually listen in on other people's conversations, but he couldn't help but overhear. "Did you hear? The scouts have returned with news about that strange planet that has appeared near ours. They say it's supposed to have gravity near 1,000 times our own," one of them exclaimed. "What? No way. Where is it? I mean, can you see it from here?" questioned the other. "Yeah. You can see it from the top of the lone mountain." Goku prospered at the thought of a real place to train. He had gotten far stronger than he was when he departed from home to go on his journey and train. He now lacked a real challenge that was great enough to help him train successfully. Goku wasted no time making his way towards the tall brown mountain on the horizon to the east. It was no trouble figuring out that this single mountain would be his destination, with it being the only one that reached higher than a steep hill on this desert planet. He touched 2 fingers to his head and used instant transition to travel in only seconds. He peeked out searchingly into the sky to find the civilians' information proved true. Up in space was a lush green planet that was enveloped halfway in shadow as one side experienced nighttime. In seconds, Goku had instant transitioned himself to the foreign location. Goku noticed that the land was dotted with bright green grass and trees bearing large fruit. He hadn't a chance to enjoy the scenery as he soon crashed down to the ground and felt tons weighing him down. Right, the gravity, Goku remembered. After a few moments of struggle, he felt the weight lift somewhat as his body grew used to the pressure. He practiced a few punches and kicks until he noticed a pretty young woman in the distance watching him intently. He looked back with a smile, not noticing the way she watched like an animal might watch prey. Her eyes were sharp and blue while her hair was white like snow-peaked mountains. She came towards him and he greeted her kindly. The kind warrior is so manipulatable. His kindness blinds him from deceit, thought the woman. "Hello, Goku." He gave a shocked expression. "How do you know my name?" he asked curiously. "I know a lot about you, Goku. My name is Princess Laya. You are welcome to stay with me at my castle during your stay. Perhaps you could join me for supper?" she offered. Goku, unable to reject a free meal or the rumbling in his stomach, he accepted happily. She led him to her castle where she gifted him with new clothes and a place to bath. After a quick bath and a change, he met her in the dining hall where she let him devour a feast fit for kings the size of giants. When he felt unable to continue eating, she led him to his room. "This was very nice of you, though I'm not sure if I could repay your kindness." Kindness. She corrected that word with deceit in her head. "There is a way you can." There she would shock him with her request. "You see, Goku, I am a goddess with a wish to create the ultimate fighter." He just stared at her confused. The mixture of a goddess and the scion blood of the greatest fighter in the universe would suffice to create an unbeatable being. Understanding awoke in him. One that would be unstoppable. He had turned away from her and had started rubbing the back of his neck. "Oh, well, it was nice of you to offer, but I have a wonderful wife at home with my family," he stated. He felt awkward. You would too if a near-complete stranger asked you this out of the blue. He heard an aggravated screech and turned in time to feel the impact of something hard collide with his head before blacking out. As he lay unconscious on the ground, she gave a smirk. "Finally something will go my way. For you pervs and curious people, stuff happens. Just resort to some other version of Dragon Ball AF to find out. I know of only 2 versions." Goku later awakens alone on the cold floor and remembers the violent conflict between him and the princess. He then leaves the castle and the planet, leaving behind the dark deed he did not know he committed. When he was long gone from the wretched land, the paradise for Goku vanished without a trace, but the memories clinging to the natives of a foreign planet and those that will haunt Goku in a couple years to come. 125 years have passed since the end of GT, and the only members of the Z Fighters left are Goten and Trunks. They were given the gift of immortality from Den and no longer aged. They stayed in their bodies of boys in their late teens. Trunks being 19 and Goten 18. Up on the lookout, Den and watched quietly as Goten and Trunks did their usual training. It was not uncommon for the 2 immortals to visit Den like this. They were the only friends they had left from before their friends and family grew old and passed on. Trunks no longer worked as the CEO of Capsule Corp since he didn't need people wondering how he was still alive. Goten and Trunks took a little break from their sparring session and sat with Den and. "You know," started Goten, "this whole living forever thing is fun and all, but I do miss Gohan and the others." "Me too," it was Trunks who agreed with him. "I miss Bulla and my parents." They both stood there feeling glum and lost in memories of their loved ones. "We could always wish them back to life again with the Dragon Balls," Den suggested. "We do have them stored somewhere around here." With brightened spirits, they all headed off inside to search for the Dragon Balls. A few minutes later called them out. They came to him to find him holding a red pillow on which lay 7 orange orbs each with a number of stars representing their number. Cheerfully they all made their way over to him. Goten and Trunks nearly running with excitement and Den following with his wooden staff. They lay the balls in a heap on the ground and Den spoke the ancient words he had known and used for over 100 years. The Dragon Balls began to glow. The sky grew dark and a giant green dragon appeared above them. The massive being opened its mouth to speak. "What is your wish?" "Shenron, can you bring back all our friends and family and put them at the age they were 125 years ago?" asked Trunks. "That is within my power," spoke Shenron. His voice was deep and dark and his eyes were a bright red. "All right," yelled Goten, jumping into the air with glee. After many years he would get to see his family again. "Then that is our wish." "Shenron, we wish to bring back all our friends and family at the age they were," Trunks thought for a moment, 125 years ago. The year they were given immortality. Shenron's eyes began to glow a bright strawberry red. "Your wish has been granted." With that, the Dragon Balls flew up into the air before scattering themselves across the world. Shenron vanished and the sky regained its light again. Slowly people came into appearance before their very eyes. Friendly faces smiled at them. They all waited over 100 years in Otherworld to finally see them again. Everyone rushed into cheerful greetings except for Android 18, who hung back the way she was expected to. But with the feelings shown in her eyes rather than actions, and Vegeta, who only smiled at his son, but that was enough to tell Trunks what he wanted to hear. Chi-Chi, Gohan, Pan, Videl, Bulma, Vegeta, Bulla, Krillin, 18, Marin, Yamcha, Majub, Tien and Kaiotsu stood happily around them, happy to be back. Their happiness was cut short when they noticed someone vital missing from their reunion. "Where's Goku?" Chi-Chi asked. That's when people started noticing. "He wasn't with us in Otherworld. I thought he might be with one of you. This means he's alive somewhere. Either he's suppressing his power level or he's a long distance from here," concluded Dend. "Kakarot's still alive," mumbled Vegeta shamefully. He had always made his goal to surpass him and now he manages to outlive him by so many years. "Maybe," replied Chi-Chi, on the verge of tears. "You all must be hungry. Come on in and get something to eat," offered Dend. The newly revived crew moved their party inside. Chi-Chi hung back outside with little tears beginning to flow from her eyes. He wasn't here. She had waited so long to see his face again and hear his carefree laugh. When she had finally thought she might see him, she had let her hopes up just to be disappointed by his absence. What was he doing out there on his own? Was he with another woman? Had he found someone who was young and pretty? The thoughts made her light trickles turn to waterfalls. Someone placed a hand on her shoulder. A familiar voice spoke to her from behind, "Don't cry." Was it really him? It couldn't be, could it? She turned, trying not to let her hope up this time only to get disappointment. Her heart leaped when she saw him, her husband, standing there in front of her. She hugged him fiercely, burying her head in his chest. He hugged her back less tight but with just as much affection. "Goku," she wailed. A mixture of thoughts flooded her. Relief, happiness, regret for thinking what she did, and anger at him for not being there already. The others had heard her wail and came running to see what was wrong. They found her crying on Goku. They all brightened at the sight of him being so well. Vegeta though grew his usual grumpiness that he remained alive and young for this long. He was probably stronger now since he'd been training since the day he left. That was true. "How did you know to come here?" asked the familiar voice of the short fighter. His hair was gray with age, making him look more than twice his wife's apparent age. Goku looked at him. He hadn't kept track of how long he had been gone or even realized that it was over 100 years, yet now that he saw them once again, all the years he was away from them seemed to come back and slap him in the face. That didn't faze him. Normally he would have ended up saying something ridiculously stupid that would have turned into a joke. "I noticed a strange growth in power coming from Earth and was sure then that they had used the Dragon Balls for something big like this," Goku replied. "I hardly noticed how long I'd been gone when I was away, and now it's even harder to tell since you all look just as old as you did when I left." "What's that supposed to mean?" screeched Bulma. She was a little protective about the appearance of her youthfulness. She had once threw a fit in the middle of a field because he had only noticed the time that had passed by resorting to her looking middle-aged. "Nothing," he held up his hands defensively. Chi-Chi finally looked up from her sobbing fits, that all but soaked Goku's shirt. She noticed now something that used to nag at her lead her into sad, dark thoughts. He looked as old as he did when he was only the father of a young boy, no, that of a man who's a grandfather. This shouldn't have been something to bother her at this moment in time, but the words were out of her mouth before she could think it over. "Goku, you're not a kid anymore. Yet you look so young." Even Vegeta aged past his youth and died over the years. But how? Vegeta had been looking as if he didn't care, leaning against the wall ignoring the conversations, but this happened to draw his attention. He wanted to know, needed to, how. He had his suspicions but they couldn't be true. "Well, when I combined with Shenron it made me become not only stronger and faster, but gave me immortality." Vegeta had completely lost his cool as the final word was spoken. "Impossible. Before we became allies I had been searching for that," some would say greedily. "Yet he makes no attempt to obtain this gift and now I'm forced to watch him live out a never-ending, youthful life." Dend walked up to Goku. Then a long time, he greeted his old friend. "You must be hungry, come inside and eat." Goku wasted no time digging into a delicious meal pigly. When everyone had eaten to their heart's content they pestered Goku for detail of what he had done for the whole time. He told them his tale and about the strange planet with the extreme gravity. He left out the part about Princess Lila and her request. He was smart enough to tell them about how much he missed them, for Chi-Chi's benefit, and how he thought about his family every day and wondered how they were doing. They in turn told them about their years in Otherworld. Goku was truly happy none ended up in hell, though he never thought that either of them had a chance of being sent there. Chi-Chi had decided to speak up again. We better be headed home now. It's been so long and I doubt Goten had fixed up the house while we were all gone. We'll have a lot of work to do. With that they said their goodbyes and the two took off. Goten stayed behind with Gohan to catch up with him and the others. Goku and Chi-Chi arrived home and were depressed to find the house in a wreck. Many pieces of the furniture were worn and broken and the place was covered in dust and animal droppings from little creatures that had found their way in through some holes in the windows. Chi-Chi had begun, in minutes, ordering Goku about. She had him take all the broken furniture and carry it outside to be disposed of. While Chi-Chi began sweeping heaps of dirt and dust, she heard a thud from a few feet over where Goku had dropped their broken table, adding even more mess. "Hey Chi-Chi, I feel an immense power level coming from the lookout," Goku told her. He lifted his fingers to his head to do an instant transition when Chi-Chi broke his concentration. "Oh no you don't, mister," she hollered, turning on him with her old broom. "Don't you think for a minute you're getting out of cleaning? I know you'd go run off and train all day like you used to." But Chi-Chi - no buts. "You're going to stay here and help me clean and then maybe you can go run off. Besides, I'm sure that whatever it is it's nothing that they can't handle on their own." After that Goku just continued to help with the chores, hoping she was right. Back at the lookout everyone had ceased their merriment. The cheerful emotions were replaced with curiosity for the oddly high power level heading straight for them. Bulma and Bulla couldn't sense power levels like the others, but they could tell something was up from the way everyone else was acting. Even Vegeta seemed a little bothered by the high power level. Everyone rushed outside to find a beautiful young woman and a tall teenage boy hovering over the lookout. The boy had bright white hair with a couple locks of black. His eyes were mismatched, one being blue the other a dark brown. A white tail protruded from his backside like the one Goku had obtained many years ago. He wore long-sleeved black shirt under a green fighting outfit similar to the ones Krillin, Gohan, Goten, and Goku used to wear. He looked scarily familiar. The young male and woman floated down to the lookout. "I am looking for my father," he spoke in a deep voice. "Is he one of you?" They all doubted that any of them could be related to him. He waited patiently while they stared confused. "We don't know who you're talking about, but if we had a name it would help," Bulma said. She hadn't needed to ask. They had all already figured it out. None of them were sure how or why, but it was the only reasonable answer. "If you must know, I'm looking for Goku." Stunned silence followed his response. "No." Vegeta thought Kakarot fathered another child. How does all of his offspring end up so strong? This bastard son of his better know his place. "You must be mistaken," claimed an angry Gohan. "My father never had a third son." "Is it so? Looks to me like he hasn't told you everything." "Zikor, mind your manners. You are at their home are you not?" scolded the young woman. "Yes, mother. I am sorry for my son's rudeness. He has always been like that from the start. My name is Princess Lila and this is my son Zikor. We have traveled here in search of Goku so he may train his son." "I don't know what you're talking about," Vegeta said, "but even a fool like Kakarot wouldn't have done this." "I can understand your confusion. Many years ago I sought out to create the ultimate warrior. I had met King Cold who had then fallen in love with me. We created Frieza." Vegeta growled when he realized this woman was responsible for his planet's destruction. He seemed to be so strong, so indestructible. "I had thought him to be the universe's greatest until he had been nearly destroyed, so I left in search of the universe's greatest warrior. I sought out Goku. I created a perfect planet with an immense gravity level to attract Goku. When he showed up I showed him hospitality and offered him a stay at my castle. There I tried to seduce him, but he just told me about how he was married. Because that failed I knocked him out and done what was needed in his dreams. Zikor was born several months later and grew until he was 18 when he then stopped aging. I waited until now to seek out training for Xicor so that he may then become the greatest fighter in the universe. Everyone then understood, and Gohan and Goten became even angrier with him. Vegeta thought to himself, only Kakarot would let himself get knocked out by her. I grow impatient. Where is Goku? Asked Xicor. He isn't here, said Gohan, and there is no way he is going to train the likes of you. Your appearance is a dishonor to me, Goku, and family. Now get out of here. Who's going to make me? Angered more than he could ever remember being, Gohan changed into Super Saiyan and prepared to fight. Ha ha ha. Do you really think you can beat me? I am the child of the greatest warrior there ever was and a deity. I'm born a Super Saiyan, don't stand a chance. Gohan charged him and he dodged easily. Goten and Trunks powered up to Super Saiyan 2 and Vegeta turned into a Super Saiyan 4. Gohan launched a ki ball at Zikor, who swatted it aside like a bug. Gohan threw a flurry of ki balls at him to no effect. He fought with many kicks and punches. Zikor dodged and threw some sloppy attacks of his own. Zikor flew into the air, followed by Gohan, who flew into the air several yards away. Kamehameha. He launched a Kamehameha wave at his opponent. Zikor stood there in the sky, eyes bulging in pain. A gaping hole showed in the center of his chest. His face lost its pain, looked to an angered one as the hole healed itself of damage. Zikor flew at an unseeable speed at the Super Saiyan and grabbed him by the throat. He threw him down, making a crater in the ground of the lookout. Even without training, he was still more powerful than his older brother. Goten was about to rush to his brother's aid when Vegeta took this as his chance and rushed in before they could. Get the woman and children out of here, ordered Vegeta. I'll make quick business of Xicor. Krillin grabbed Marin and flew down to Earth with her. 18 did the same with Bulma. Bulla, Kaihatsu, a worried Videl, and Pan, carrying her unconscious father, followed. Vegeta attacked Xicor, landing a punch in the face. Xicor wiped the blood from his mouth and launched a ki ball at Vegeta, who dodged with ease. They fought one another fiercely, Vegeta showing such ferocity due to his need not to be outdone by the half-blooded offspring of Kakarots. In the end, he was outmatched after many painful minutes. He may have been able to last longer than Gohan, but he was no match for the half-god. The teen kneed him in the jaw and kicked him in the gut. Another punch in the face sent Vegeta hurtling unconsciously to the surface of the lookout. Alrighty, looks like we've gotten the cleaning done, Chi-Chi said happily. It had only taken about a half hour in all to get everything cleaned or removed with Goku's strength and speed. Any normal person would have taken at least a day. Great, Chi-Chi. Bye. Chi-Chi turned to tell Goku to be back before dinner, but saw he was already preparing to instant transition. She ran to stop him, but upon grabbing his sleeve she only succeeded in sending herself with him. Goku appeared at the lookout to find it smashed in Majub, Goten, Trunks, Tien, and Yamcha attacking someone. Before he could get a better look at the guy, Yamcha, Trunks, and Goten all launched a ki blast and Tien used his tri-beam, bringing up a cloud of smoke around their woman. A woman who had been all but forgotten by Goku stood a bit off watching, not at all moved by what just happened. Goku ran to the others, leaving Chi-Chi behind, to find out what was going on. That should finish him, Tien mumbled, wiping sweat from his face. He looked up when he noticed no change in Zikor's power level. What's going on? Goku asked. Who was that? Shouldn't you know, said a wounded Vegeta who had just started climbing out of his crater. Goku could see he had probably been involved in the fight earlier. Chi-Chi made no attempt to get any closer to the others, being scared and horrified by what she just witnessed. Her baby, Goten, was just involved in the murder of whoever that was. Everyone became even more tense when they noticed the smoke clear and Zikor rejuvenate every part of him that had been destroyed. Goku, perhaps I should tell you, at least then it'd probably make more sense, said Princess Lila, making her way towards him. She reminded him of what happened the day that he had met her and told him of what she had done to him in his dreams. Of course I had learned enough to know that I needed to take the form of your wife in your dreams. After that it was pretty easy. Goku, over there is your son Zikor. I brought him here so that you may train him to be the great fighter I dream him to be. Goku, is this true? Goku turned to see Chi-Chi standing behind him on the verge of tears. The fears she had earlier and punched herself over having were true. He had found a young pretty woman and cheated on her. Goku hugged her and told her it was true and that never for a moment did he think that the woman in his dreams was anyone but her. She was relieved to hear these words and happily knew that they were true. Zikor made no move to attack the others again, so neither did they. He just stared expectantly at his father. He looked a lot the same as him with only a few differences in appearance. He was disappointed though. He had expected him to be stronger than that, even the Super Saiyan 4 he defeated earlier seemed more powerful. He was also a bit confused, his mother hadn't told him about there being someone else. Another woman. It does make sense though. The man who looked like his father as well stated that he had been Goku's son and had a brother and mother. Gohan flew up to the lookout. He was covered in cuts and bruises. He hadn't been given a senzu bean since he wasn't hurt that bad, but he held the shoulder he had landed on and grunted a little when he spoke. "Don't do it, Dad." Zikor was tempted to attack him again and finish him off, but thought better of it. Goku may not approve of him killing his eldest son without provocation, besides the man was bound to provoke him eventually. Instead of attacking, he walked towards his father. "Hello, father, it is an honor to finally meet you," Zikor greeted. Goku had not expected his voice to be so deep. Normally Goku would have spoken with someone new easily, but this time it felt odd with it being undoubtedly his son from another woman. Him meeting Goten had been simple. This time felt so strange because this son was from another woman whom he hadn't expected to have ever fathered a child with, nor would ever have done so, willingly. "No, the pleasure is mine," replied Goku. He looked at his two other sons. Goten looked tired and beaten and Gohan looked like he had been a helpless human mugged in a dark alley. "Though it's not as nice to find all of this," he said, referring to the disaster and pain he'd caused. "Sorry about that, father. None of this was done without their attack first. Though I do feel the need to ask, will you train me?" "Don't do it!" Gohan yelled from the edge of the lookout. Zikor held back his anger and the many attacks he would have taken pleasure in bestowing upon the mortal. He didn't need to attack anyway, instead his mother turned on him. Princess Laya turned to Gohan. "You foolish boy. Be gone with you," she yelled, launching a ki blast at him. Gohan managed to jump out of the way as they collided with the ground of the lookout, bringing up a heap of rubble. Chi-Chi collected all of her motherly courage. "Don't you dare hurt my son like that," she yelled, preparing to charge her, only to stop when Princess Laya turned her anger towards her. "Insolent woman! Why do all of you keep getting in my way? Don't you realize, I'll take over the universe either way?" "Wait, what?" asked Zikor, truly confused. He hadn't realized his mother's true intentions. He had come here to meet his father and finally be trained. She launched a ki ball at her as well when Goku intervened, pulling his wife quickly out of the way. "Don't hurt my mother!" "Kamehameha!" yelled Gohan, him and Goten producing Kamehamehas faster than expected and launched it at Princess Laya. Without time to dodge, she crumpled to the ground as the mortal wound's pain set in. Zikor rushed to his mother's aid. "Son! Avenge me! All my power is now yours," she began to glow. "No! I don't want your power. No," he said, pained in the heart at what she had just said. What the stupid mortal had done to her. She disappeared completely and Zikor felt his energy increase with her power added to it. He looked up and began to scream into the air. He began to surge with power and exerted with such force that Goku had to hold on to Chi-Chi to keep her from being blown away. Zikor turned to Gohan and turned all his anger and loss into the motivation needed to create a ki ball of enough power to kill his mother's murderer 10 times over. The ki ball disappeared as everything around him disappeared and all went black. Vegeta stood behind the collapsed body. His hands were grasped together in a fist from hitting Zikor on the back of the neck, knocking him out cold. He was gasping heavily. It had taken immense force from his already tired body to hit him hard enough to knock him out. Anyone else could have had their heads ripped off from something like this. Yet Zikor just crumpled to the ground without signs that it had even broken a bone. "Do you think that bastard's finally dead?" asked Vegeta, hoping that it was a yes. No, he's just unconscious. He should wake up in a couple hours, replied Goku. That gives us a couple hours to either kill him, ditch him on some foreign planet, or try and make peace, suggested Yamcha. I don't know about you guys, but the second one seems like the only one that is in any way accomplishable. Though I'd prefer, at this moment, the first option. Well, what should we do with him? Asked Chi-Chi. She did not want to kill him. She believed against mindless killing, and what she saw in him was not a murderer. She saw that he was just a misguided teen, led down the wrong path by someone who shouldn't have been his guide. She felt that they should set him straight, lead him back onto the right path. She didn't care that he had nearly murdered them or was there to see what he did to her son, but that may not have changed her mind at all if she had. She would have beaten him maybe, but no more than that. Tien picked himself up off the ground. I say it's too dangerous to let him live. When he wakes up he'll kill us all and then there will be no one to save the planet. There won't be, right? He asked Trunks. Nope, Trunks replied, this generation is just as weak as the old ones. Chi-Chi gathered her courage and stood up for the child before her. No, I won't let you kill him. He's just a child. Misled into the wrong thoughts and beliefs. We can't blame him. Trunks argued with her, but Chi-Chi I never thought that I'd say this, said Vegeta, but I agree with Chi-Chi. It would be cowardice to kill him while he's unconscious. Like attacking someone when their back is turned. Then what should we do? We can't just leave him here, and I don't suggest bringing him home with us. Asked Yamcha. Den walked over to them, staff in hand. He only looked a little older than he did 125 years ago, maybe in his mid to late 20s. We could always keep him here. I'm sure we could find him a place where we could keep an eye on him. He doesn't look very skilled in fighting itself, just at surviving, so maybe a small room could confine him enough that he won't be able to attack us as easily or before any of us could knock him out again. It doesn't sound like the best of plans, said Tien. It's not foolproof, but it will have to do, suggests Goku. I think that we should only have people who won't pose as a threat to him watching him. The Chi-Chi, Bulma, Videl, Krillin, 18 and the children should be moved away from here, probably hide out together at home. Gohan, he may hold a grudge against you for killing his mother, so you will stay with Chi-Chi and the others to protect them in case things don't go as planned. The rest of us who aren't going in will wait nearby as a way to help whoever's in there, if Zikor attacks them. Dend, Mr. Popo, would you guys like to go with them? If you don't mind, Goku, said Dend, I would like to stay here. Mr. Popo? Mr. Popo chose to stay by his companion's side. With that, each of them hugged and kissed their family members goodbye before they departed. 18 picked up Marin, Krillin flew off, Bulma was carried away by Bulla, and Pan carried Chi-Chi while Videl helped her tired, weary husband. They flew off in the direction of Bulma's Capsule Corporation building. Bulma turned around to look at her husband. Good luck, honey, she called. Luck's got nothing to do with it, he said confidently. Surprisingly, it looked in far better shape than Chi-Chi's little house. The only difference in it was that Trunks had swapped out all the older machines for new up-to-date ones. When everyone settled down inside and all seemed lost in thoughts, Pan pulled Bulla aside. Are you going to let them take on Zikor without us? Asked Pan. They were the closest of friends, maybe even closer, being inseparable. No way, replied Bulla. They each snuck outside and flew off in the direction of the lookout. Back at the lookout, they had found Zikor a room and the maze of hallways inside. Outside the room, Goku, Vegeta, Goten, Trunks, Yamcha, Tien, Majub, Dend and Mr. Popo planned who would wait where. Goku spoke first. There are, he counted them, pointing to each in turn, 9 of us, so 2 of us should be in there with him. I don't think we should put anybody he's fought too seriously with. He may see it as a threat. Vegeta, Tien and Trunks, you'll wait down the hall until you're needed. Mr. Popo, I think you should go too. That leaves, he did the math with his fingers, 3 of us. I'll go in there and take Goten with me. Goku, I think I should go instead. Goten has already fought with him and he has no reason to feel threatened by me. Said Dend. It's too dangerous for you to go. If any of us die, we'll need you around so we can use the Dragon Balls to come back to life, Goku reasoned. Dend sighed, okay. The second group departed for their room, to prepare for the upcoming fight. Goku entered the small room, Tien followed reluctantly. It wasn't so much a room as it was a cell. It had a small bed at one end and 2 chairs in the corner. Goku pulled up a chair and sat in it backwards, folding his arms over the top and leaning on it like a pillow. Goten pulled up the other and leaned it against the wall. Hours passed and soon they had both fallen asleep on the job. Goten awoke several hours later. Blinking the remnants of sleep away, he noticed movement stirring beneath Zikor's covers. He shook Goku awake. "Dad, he's waking up." Goku yawned and stretched sleep away before pushing his chair away. Goten got up and placed his chair with his father's. Zikor pushed the blanket off and groaned as he sat up. Goku and Goten saw why. The hit from Vegeta had snapped his neck. Zikor's head hung limp on his shoulder. He grabbed his head with both hands, grinding his teeth. He snapped it back into place, making a sickening cracking sound. He turned to them, looking a bit startled to see them. He jumped out of bed. "Where am I? What are you doing here?" He held his hand up, palm facing them. "Tell me or I'll shoot." Goku held up his hands defensively. "It's okay. We're not here to hurt you. We just want to talk. Is that okay?" Goku explained. Zikor looked suspicious, but lowered his hand. Goten seemed a little uneasy about this, not knowing what to expect. Goku, on the other hand, didn't feel so scared. He saw how without his mother, the only family he had ever known, he was lost. He was upset and miserable. He didn't seem to want all of this to have happened. He's like a child who got lost. Just needs a helping hand. "Good. Now what's up?" asked Goku casually. "What's up? What's up?" Zikor jumped up. "Your son just killed my mother. What do you think is up? Calm down. Remember, we're just talking." "Okay," he nodded. "I'm sorry about your mother, but you have to understand this. He was only attacking her because she tried to kill his mother, like how you attacked him for attacking yours. He was only defending his own, you understand?" Zikor just looked down at his feet. He didn't like these facts, not because they were saying bad things about his mother, but because those things were true. "Is there anything we can do for you?" He shook his head. The corner of his lip raised in a half smile. "You know, I was so happy to come here and be trained by father. I was overjoyed thinking this was going to be great. Look how wrong I was. I only wanted to meet my dad and finally be trained by him. Now I'm stuck here with my mom long gone for good." Goten was about to mention that they could just bring her back with the Dragon Balls, but realized it wasn't such a good idea. "If you want, I could still train you. You know, as long as you don't try and kill us again, that is." "Wait, Dad," said Goten. He wasn't sure this was a good idea at all. Nothing good could come from his new brother being taught to fight even better. "No, it's okay, Goten. I know what I'm doing. So what do you say?" Zikor's expression didn't change from its dark, glum look, but his eyes brightened a little at the idea to finally have his dream come true. "I'll be right back." "Wait here," ordered Goku in his usual carefree voice. He left the room and Goten followed. They walked to the much larger and cozier room down the hall where backup was waiting. When they walked in, Vegeta, who was leaning against the far wall, looked up at them. "Is it finally over? We've been waiting in here for ages." "It's over, all right. It's time to go get the others and tell them everything is all right," confirmed Goku. Vegeta looked shocked. "That's all?" "Yep. That's all I have to say." "No. I mean about Zikor. Is he leaving? Did he keel over and die while you were talking to him?" "Oh, that. No and no. I told him I was going to train him," said Goku, scratching the back of his head. "What? You imbecile. Why would you say that? Now he's going to expect to be trained, and if you do, you'll just make our enemy even stronger." Tien stood up from the chair he was sitting in. "I'm with Vegeta on this one, Goku. You can't train him. When you do, he'll just go off and take over the universe and probably blow up the earth when he does. I don't think so, said Dend. He didn't look like he wanted to kill anybody. He could have killed us all in minutes before. Besides, he looked completely shocked when he found out his mother was using him to gain power. See guys, said Goku, I don't think it'll do any harm to help him out if his intentions aren't bad. Majub agreed with Goku. I believe you're right, Goku. Look at me, I was once the greatest threat in the universe for hundreds of years. Yeah, said Vegeta, but you were reborn as a good person. You didn't just trash all of us then take a nap and turn over a new leaf. It doesn't matter what you guys say to me, said Goku, I'm going to train him, that's that. He exited the room with the others behind him. Walking up the hall, they entered Zikor's room to a shocking sight. A few stupid moments earlier is that where they're keeping Zikor, asked Bulla. Her and Pan had flown back to the lookout to go join in the fight with Zikor. They hid behind a corner waiting for Goku and Goten to leave the room or for sounds of a struggle to be heard. Yeah, I'm sure of it. Grandpa and Uncle Goten just left there and they looked exhausted. He must be in there, Pan said after Goku and Goten were out of earshot. She waited a few moments for any signs of them coming back. Come on, I think the coast is clear. Together they rushed out from behind the corner into the empty hall. Pan, I'm having second thoughts. I mean, he did cream your dad in like seconds, she whispered. Oh, don't be such a baby. Just open the door, she hissed back. Bulla opened the door and Pan charged into the room where Zikor stood in front of a bed. Go away and leave the earth alone, she screamed. She jumped into the air with her foot out front, planning to kick him in the face. He reached up and caught her by the ankle effortlessly. She just hung there swinging back and forth trying to punch him. Zikor held her away at arm's length and just stared at her blankly, without much care. Bulla stood in front of the reclosed door, frozen with fear. The frozen half-Saiyan turned around when the door opened. Outside stood Goku, Goten, and all of the other fighters who were waiting in the other room. They stood mouths gaping at what they saw. Little Pan was being held upside down by Zikor. You put my niece down right now, yelled Goten. Zikor flipped her around in midair and caught her by the wrist before lowering her down. She ran out the door and hid behind her grandfather. Bulla ran and hid behind her father. Goten charged Zikor in his blind rage. He threw a punch that Zikor caught. Then another and another dozen punched failed. Then Zikor caught his fist and, twisting it around his back, slammed him to the ground. Goku walked over and picked up Goten by the back of his shirt. What is going on here? Asked Goku. Seeing as Pan and Bulla don't look like they'll say anything, Zikor, would you like to share? I was just standing here when she came in here screaming and attacked me. Good enough? Is this true? Goku asked his granddaughter with a disapproving glare. Yes, Grandpa, she mumbled. I'm going to have a word with your mother about this. Just your mother, I have a feeling if I tell your father he might reward you for this. Sorry, about this Zikor. Shall we go now, or do you have anything you need to get? I have my pod, said Zikor, crashed to the east. In there I have my clothes and other belongings. I can go get them quickly if you'd let me. Knock yourself out, Goku instant transitioned them to the outside of the lookout. Zikor flew at incredible speeds east and returned with a traveling bag full of clothes similar to that he was wearing now. Goku instant transitioned them to his little house in the mountains while Goten flew to Bulma's house to tell the others it was all over. Everyone piled into one of Bulma's planes and flew to Goku's house. When they arrived, Chi-Chi ran out first to hug her husband, but stopped right outside the plane's exit. She screeched when she saw him fist fighting with the monster that had nearly killed her son. Gohan jumped out of the ship to rush out and help his dad. Gohan rushed in, but was stopped by the father he was trying to help. Goku laughed his usual laugh as if told a joke by a friend. Good to see you, brother, said Zikor, walking up to his father's side. Goku, what the heck is going on here? Asked Chi-Chi. She could not understand this in the least bit. First he's fighting him, then he's stopping his son from fighting him? Was she missing something? Why are you laughing now? Weren't you fighting with him when we landed? Ah. Honey. We weren't fighting. I was training him. What? Yelled Gohan. How could he train this monster, this freak? He was nearly killed because of his new brother. Why would you do that? You saw what he did to the lookout and how he attacked us. Are you insane? Look, Gohan, I know you might not understand, he explained, placing a hand on his son's shoulder, but he only wanted to meet me and be trained. He never wanted anybody to get hurt. He didn't even know about any of you until he met you. If you train him, he's going to take over the universe. Son, that was never his intentions. It was a goal of his mother's, not his. But no buts, Gohan. I'm going to train him and you're going to treat him with respect as an individual and your brother. Gohan didn't like this or agree to it at all, but in the end he nodded gruffly. Good. I think we might have a place you can stay somewhere around her, he said, drawing his attention back to Zikor. Chi-Chi just stared at how Goku just made all those decisions without her consult. He was inviting Zikor to live with them. She didn't have much of a problem with Zikor really, just at how he had all but blown up the lookout so easily and was like an unstoppable force trapped in a teenager's body. That night Yamcha, Tien and Kailatsu departed for home. Majub flew back to his village to say hello to the ones that had come to replace the old villagers. Krillin, 18, and Marin chose to stay the next few nights before leaving to say hello to the old turtle hermit. Zikor moved in with many uncomfortable glances and more than once did he feel like someone was watching him. They gave him Gohan's old room use. It wasn't very large, but it was an upgrade from what he had at the lookout. He had only a dozen or so pairs of clothes and a picture of him and his mother, so there was no lack of room for his belongings. His training was supposed to begin in a week, so he went to bed early that night after a silent dinner to get used to sleeping early and awaking early as well. He tried for hours and failed to find rest for hours. There was no peace in his mind. Only the constant whirling of thoughts and grief. Why did his mother have to die? Why did things have to turn out like this? I should have known it wouldn't have been as simple as Goku greeting me with open arms. Which he might have if things hadn't turned into an unwelcome party, and agreeing to train me. I should have known there was a reason my father was never there or ever met me, let alone know about me. Something must have been up, I was just too blind to see it. How could I not see through my mother's deceit? She acted like she loved me just so she'd gain the power I could get her easily. No, she did love me, I know it. She just had plans for me that played a big role in her selfish goals. The next day, Zikor helped Chi-Chi around the house to help get on her good side. Every now and then he'd peek slightly over his shoulder and find Marin peeking at him through the slightly open door. When he'd sit to eat he'd notice that she would sit in the seat next to him and the same when he'd be in the living room. She'd make conversations with him and he'd speak with her casually, blindly seeing it as nothing more than small talk. One day he stepped outside to take a break from all the mean looks and smell of cleaning coming from the work he was doing for Chi-Chi. He heard soft footsteps behind him, so he turned to see Marin walking towards him. "Hi Zikor," she greeted warmly. He greeted her kindness well. It was a good break from all the negative emotions almost everyone had for him. "Hello," he never could remember her name. She told it to him once and it never stuck. She didn't notice much, and when she did she didn't mind. It made her more attracted to him. "How are you today?" "Good." He didn't really care or know why she asked him, but felt it would be rude to ignore her or not ask. "Great," she giggled in what she thought was a cute way. He wanted to know how I was feeling. "Do you have a girlfriend?" she asked quickly. She had been building up the courage all week and she needed to find out before she left. No. Why is she asking me this?" She leaned towards him with a smile spread across her lips. I have to go and help Chi-Chi." He left her standing in the yard feeling gleeful and giddy. Why was she always talking to him and making him feel really uncomfortable? I never will understand girls, he thought to himself. Heading inside he helped Chi-Chi with the laundry. That night Marin and her family headed home to the little island in the middle of the ocean. Zikor felt relieved to finally have a day where she wasn't breathing down the back of his neck. Training was to start the next day, so he went to bed early in an attempt to have a refreshing sleep. Hours passed with the same restlessness he'd had the first day and every day in the past week. The next day, he awoke groggy and droopy-eyed for training. Goku was needed by Chi-Chi, so he told Gohan and Goten to help him train. Now, how should we train him? Goten asked Gohan. Gohan smirked. It a twisted and maniacal type of smirk. Not the crazy smile, just the creepy smirk. I think I know. How about we do this the way we used to practice when you helped me train for the competition? To emphasize what he meant, he picked up a baseball-sized rock off the ground and tossed it up and down in his hand. Oh, that training. Zikor stood in front of the cliff wall with his older brothers 50 feet away, standing in front of a mountain of rocks. Are you sure this is a good idea? He asked uncertainly. Of course it is, said Gohan. We used to do this all the time when we were younger to help me train for a fighting competition. Yeah, well, there was only one of you throwing rocks and he was like 7. I don't think the same factors apply, countered Zikor. It's fine. Do you want to be trained or not? When I asked Goku to train me, this wasn't what I meant. Goten turned to Gohan with a mocking smile. I think Lil Bro's scared. Do you? Zikor growled. I think you're right, Goten, agreed Gohan. Fine. I'll do this stupid training. Let's just get this over with, ordered Zikor. They each began pelting him with rocks at incredible speeds. Zikor managed to dodge a few, but none of them were something he could catch or easily dodge. He jumped this way and that, waiting, praying for the pile to turn into an empty space of dirt where their ammunition was until it ran out. An hour of pain passed before the storm of rocks ceased. By the time that had come, Zikor's senses had woken him up and now he was back to being tired. His hair was in disarray and his clothes were torn and tattered in places. His skin was bruised from the places where the rocks that hadn't cut into him placed their non-skin-breaking mark. One of his eyes was black and blue like a large blueberry, and he was covered from bruised head to aching foot in sweat and dirt, not accounting for the blood stains that littered him. Gohan and Goten nearly toppled over with laughter. Zikor only growled at them. He wanted more than anything to kill them, but he didn't have the energy, and if his energy is too low his healing won't work and then he'd be a sitting duck for his cruel older brothers. If this is what Goku had in mind by training, then he was done with it. He wasn't going to let himself be humiliated by them repeatedly. The only thing he learned to do or got better at doing was accepting pain, and he already been able to do that since no matter how much pain, it wasn't going to kill him. He was going to get back at them for this. Hey, Gohan, called Goten, I'm heading back to the house. You coming? Nah, he replied, walking in the other direction. I have to gather more rocks for tomorrow. He laughed as he walked away. The two of them flew home. Zikor stayed at the same speed as Goten since he didn't have the energy to outrace him. Goten went into the house first while Zikor stood outside to enjoy a breath of stone-free air. OWW, he yelled, clutching the back of his head. A rock clattered to the ground. He turned to see Pan standing a few yards off with a rock in her hand. What the hell was that for? I saw you training like that, so I thought you might have had some improved reflexes. Guess I was wrong. All well, let's just call it even then for you hanging me upside down. Oh, really? Even, I can agree with that. Then this is even for attacking me before. He picked up the rock she had thrown at him off the ground and tossed it at her. He knew really throwing it would kill her, so he just threw it hard enough to leave a nasty bruise. She fell to the ground, clutching the forming bruise on her forehead. They both walked inside grumpily. He had his revenge and she was smart enough not to do it again. What's wrong with you, Pan, honey? Asked Chi-Chi. Zikor threw a rock at me. Chi-Chi turned angrily to Zikor. Because she threw one at me first, was his excuse. Well, he started it, she yelled, pointing a finger at him. No, I didn't. It started when you attacked me yesterday and again when you threw a rock at me today, he countered. Oh, my gosh. You may be a grown man, Zikor, sighed Chi-Chi, but you're less mature than Pan. And she has the maturity of a 10-year-old. The next day Zikor woke up earlier than everyone else. He got dressed and ran outside before anyone else had a chance to wake up. He returned an hour later with a gleeful expression. Settling back into bed, he waited for the others to awaken. When he was sure at least 2 people were up, he himself walked out of his room, stretching and yawning to put up a good show for the others. He sat down at the table and ate the eggs and bacon Chi-Chi had put out for him. Goku came into the kitchen and said he would be late for training and to start without him. Swallowing the last bits of his meal, him and his new brothers left for training. Zikor made sure to act glum and appear to be dreading the hours of training to come. On the outside he mourned the day, on the inside he grinned cruelly. Payback was coming, and what wonderful payback it will be. They landed by the cliffside and Zikor sighed before half dragging his feet over to where he was to be stoned to death again. Head held down, he hid his wicked grin. He looked up with a solemn look on his face, a good thing they didn't notice the over-eagerness and humor glinting in his eyes. "Ready?" asked Goten. "As I'll ever be." They both reached into the pile of rocks and grabbed one off the surface. They brought their arms back, then launched them forward. Zikor pretended to flinch even though no rocks would be flung at him. He opened his eyes and bowled over, laughing at the sight. Goten and Gohan had the stones clinging to their hands stuck. They were waving their arms around trying to shake them off to no avail. Goten accidentally smacked his hand into Gohan, who was then knocked over into the sticky rock pile, dragging Goten down with them. As they climbed up they realized they were covered in the rocks. "You two look like a bunch of crumbled mountains," mocked Zikor. "What the hell is this?" asked Goten. He couldn't move his legs much and a cluster of rocks stuck in his armpit prevented him from moving that arm. Sweet revenge mixed with a bit glue. "I'm going to head home early since it doesn't look like you two will be able to continue." He flew off in the direction of the little house. On the way he noticed Goku flying towards him. "Hey, Zikor, you guys done with training? What did I miss? Yesterday they threw rocks at me." "Ouch, they were tough on you, weren't they? How'd you get back at them?" "I don't know what you're talking about," Zikor lied. Goku cocked an eyebrow at him. "I covered the rocks with glue." They shared a laugh. They should be getting done pulling the rocks off soon. "I want to get one more look." He flew back to his rock-covered brothers with Goku following him. The two had made little more success than getting stuck together in a sticky, rocky mess. "Hey Dad," greeted Goten from Gohan's back. Chuckling, Zikor reached into his pocket and produced a bottle of spray-on blue remover. "Close your eyes and mouth," he ordered. When they did, he sprayed both of them and the glue wore off. Gohan and Goten stood up and stretched their stiff muscles. Goku brought them away from the mountain, scolding each in turn for their childish actions. Goku brought them to the field where they used to train. Time hadn't changed the nature of the mountains or its animals. Landing in the field, Goku partnered Zikor with Gohan and himself with Goten. They began their practice bouts that lasted for hours. When night fell they raced back for dinner. When they got home, they found they had raced to face Chi-Chi, who was upset at them for being late for dinner. After a meal was eaten they all got ready for bed and a restful night. The next few days were the same, as were the next several weeks that turned into 2 months. Everything seemed great to Zikor. Everyone lightened up to him, even his older brothers didn't mind him that much. Vegeta acted as angrily and rude to him as ever, but Zikor knew by then that if you expected differently, you were in for disappointment. Trunks and Goten proved to be good friends in time and taught him a few of Earth's customs that were new to him, even attempted to teach him to drive. They gave up on that after the first few crashes. He definitely was Goku's son. One day they came home from training early for once, to Chi-Chi's surprise. "You four are home early. And none of you look tired or beaten. Have you guys been slacking off today?" "No," answered a for once. "Not exhausted, Zikor, they were teaching me to sense power levels. In a few weeks, when I'm better at it, they are going to teach me how to lower mine." "That's nice." Goku and his 2 elder sons left to go watch TV and spend time with the others. Zikor stayed and offered to help Chi-Chi. "Would you like me to cook dinner tonight?" he offered. She smiled thankfully. "That'd be great." "Thank you." That night when a mouth-watering meal was laid out on the table for everyone to enjoy, Goku wasted no time before digging in. Juicy, mouth-watering steaks rested on a platter next to that of creamy golden corn. A large bowl was filled white cloud-like mashed potatoes and a gravy bowl was filled to the brim with the brown goodness. "Thanks Mom, it looks great," complimented Goten, slicing a piece of the steak and picking it up with his fork. He licked his lips, waiting for his mother to say it was okay to start eating. "Thanks honey, but you have Zikor to thank for it. He's the one who did all the cooking," she said to him, directing their attention to Zikor. Goten put the fork back on the plate without touching the piece of steak on it. Everyone except Goku pushed their plates away, announcing how they weren't hungry anymore. "No offense Zikor," Goten apologized, "but if you really are my dad's son, it's safe to say that if we ate this we'd soon keel over and throw up. On the outside it looks fine, but Chi-Chi is the only one here who can cook at all." Goku spoke with his mouth stuffed full of mashed potatoes and gravy. "I tate pine Tommy." Seeing everyone's confusion, he swallowed and tried again. "It tastes fine to me." Warily, one by one they each tried to eat the meal and swallowed it with delighted looks on their faces. "Are you sure you're Goku's son?" asked Bulma, who had joined them, with Trunk and grumpy old Vegeta, for dinner. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" "My mother preferred home-cooked meals over anything she could make the way she created the planet she met my father on. Something about it always made it taste less than it looked. When I was 11 she taught me to cook so that she wouldn't have to do it herself anytime she wanted a good old-fashioned home-cooked meal." He used to wince whenever someone would mention his mother, but now that he was used to her death a little more he could speak it fine, without the slightest pain. "She certainly taught you well." Everyone, more than happily, gorged themselves that night. Chi-Chi made a mental note to have Zikor cook more often. When dinner was finished, they all crawled into bed with full bellies and happy hearts, grateful for rest after their amazing feast.